Well, hello, good morning. It's 7:40 AM on Wednesday, the 23rd of January 2019. First of all, I'd like to wish everyone a happy new year. I hope 2019 meets or even exceeds all your expectations, so best wishes to everybody. So today I'm about 40 minutes into a 200-kilometre DIY Audax. I'm heading to Cholderton Youth Hostel. It's near Stonehenge. In fact, from Bath, my hometown, it's only about 40-45 miles direct as the crow flies, but I'm doing a big loop to get there, which is just slightly over 200 kilometres. So I've just climbed out of Bath onto Kingsdown. I'm right opposite the golf course. It's very icy this morning, been a heavy frost overnight. I just rode through Bath, and to be honest, in the heavy traffic it's quite terrifying, to be honest, the thought of going down and a car going over me. So I'm a bit sort of hyped up, and also I've just ridden up the hill. So I'm heading up around the outskirts of Chippenham, very close to the M4, and I'll be following the M4 corridor along. After the outskirts of Swindon, I'll then change direction slightly and I'll be heading along the northern boundary of the North Wessex area of outstanding natural beauty, and then I've routed the ride into a subway just slightly off the course at Wantage, where I'll have some lunch and hopefully warm up a little bit. And then the one big hill of the day will be crossing the North Wessex Downs, forming a loop. I'll be heading back towards Bath, around the outskirts of Basingstoke, then getting into the Upper Bourne and then the Test Valley before finally getting to Cholderton Youth Hostel. So I'm now in a bus shelter in the village of Sutton Bender. I've barely done 20 miles and it's now 9:20 AM already. The reason for that is the treacherous ice on the roads. It was actually really scary at times, so I've been taking it really easy. The reason I've stopped here now is I've just had a battery low alarm on my Garmin. Always happens in cold weather, it just doesn't hold its charge very long, so I'm using this as a food stop. I may even have to give up my planned lunch stop at Subway at lunchtime. Hopefully I'll be able to pull some time back later on. So the riding on the ice with the traffic and then on untreated minor roads without so much traffic, it's been quite scary, to be honest, but I actually think fear is a good thing. And that's not false bravado or overconfidence. So let me try and explain. I mean, our brains are 2 million years old. They're not designed to make us happy or content. They're designed to keep us alive. You know, it'd be fantastic if my motorbike ran off tap water, but it just wasn't designed that way. So I view fear as a safety mechanism. A bit like the red warning light on the dashboard. You know, when it comes on, you need to take action, you know, otherwise you risk catastrophic failure. So when people sort of say you need to conquer fear, I just don't think that's good advice at all. I think a better advice is to manage it, be aware of it. It's there for a purpose. It's there to help keep you alive. So anyway, enough about the amateur philosophy. I'm going to have a sandwich now, give my Garmin about 10-15 minutes of charge, and then I'll be on my way. Well, it's now 12:15 and I've just stopped near the village of Hinton Parver in the North Wessex Downs. Had a battery alarm on my Garmin about 10 minutes ago. That's the second one within an hour, so I'm giving it a really good charge, having another snack and a drink and a 10-minute rest. Well, I'm about 8 miles from Wantage. I'm just passing the Uffington White Horse. Somewhere up there is a white horse. I think I can just about make it out, but it's really camouflaged by all the frost and the light dusting of snow up there. It's turned into a lovely day now. The roads are a lot safer, so I'm trying to claw back a little bit the time I lost earlier on. Well, it's just gone 1 PM and I'm at my planned lunch stop at Wantage. It's the little dog leg I did just off route. I'm not going to have time to stop here, I need to really press on. I'm making quite good progress, but I'm about to head south now as I start to do my big loop round back westwards. And looking at the downs coming along the northern boundary, the tops look quite covered in a layer of dusty ice or snow, frost. I think it's going to be quite cold up there. As I climb out of Wantage, you can see the frost on the ground, and as I look across to the horizon, there's the cooling towers of Didcot Power Station there. I'm heading up that way. It's quite a thick layer of frost by the look of it. It's a lovely sunny afternoon now, there's quite a nippy wind. Well, it's now 3:30 p.m. I'm somewhere in Berkshire near Aldermaston. I keep seeing signs of that. I've just crossed the A4 main road and the Great Western Railway and the Kennet and Avon Canal. Just stopped for about 10 minutes to have a bite of chocolate and give my Garmin a charge. So I've had to change my plans today. I had to go up to the subway at Wantage, just it's a slight little dog leg. I was going to have my lunch there, but I've had to stop so many times to keep charging the Garmin, and also I've really having to watch my time. I'll explain that in a minute. And so I'm using my Garmin chargers as little mini food stops. A couple of the big differences between an Audax calendar event and a DIY that I'm riding today. On a calendar event, you pass through a series of controls which have opening and closing times. It could be sort of a 5-hour window or even a 14-hour window. So depending on when you pass through that control, it gives you an idea of how you're progressing. Say for instance, it opens at 2 p.m. and closes at 6. If you get there at 4, you've got plenty of time. If you get in there at like 2 minutes to 6, then you're struggling a little bit. So unlike the calendar physical brevet card, you never actually touch the virtual brevet card. You see it, you get sent a copy in an email, and it holds the details of the ride online. On a DIY event, you have to figure out how to manage the time yourself, and one of the best ways I've found is to use the maximum time allowance, which you'll see is highlighted in that red bordered box at the bottom. You get minimum and maximum time allowances, and they're based on the maximum and minimum speed requirements. So for instance, today's maximum time allowance is 14 hours and 3 minutes. So I'll always try and start my rides roughly on the hour, not exactly, but roughly. Say for today, 7 a.m, I know by that maximum time allowance I've got till 3 minutes past 9 p.m. tonight. So the second figure I use is, I keep referring to my Garmin. It will give me a distance remaining and a time remaining, estimated time, but the closer you get to the finish, the more accurate it becomes. So my Garmin readout, at the moment it's telling me I've got 45 miles left to ride, and it's about 3 3/4 hours remaining till I get to my destination, to the end of the course. So what I'll do now is I'll just overlay that second figure onto my watch face so I can visualise the time allowances on the clock face, because I find the calculations sometimes hard to do, especially as I get more and more tired or if it gets darker and darker. So now it's saying 3 3/4 hours left. The time has just gone 3:30. That tells me 3 hours would be 6:30, 45 minutes on top of that, about 7:15. So just that simple technique just allows me to sort of gauge how I'm doing. I've got just under 2 hours of the maximum time allowance based on the Garmin readings, and it's not always that necessary to do it on a 200 or a 300, but I try to. I just practice, and today I actually think is going to be quite important, because after dark it could well get icy and treacherous again. But on the longer rides, it's saved my bacon a couple of times, it really has. So that's the strategy I use to manage my time. That's my preferred method. It's not the only method, it's not the best method, it's just, it works for me. So it's now 5 p.m. As you can see, it's dusk, but it's still lightish. And I'm just thinking this time of month to go, it's dark already by now. So maybe a little bit about what I'm doing today and why. So I love youth hosteling, and I love riding DIY Audaxes. So in the winter I just combine the two. And I love getting there in the dark. There's just something really nice about this time of the year. As it gets dark, cold, I use any sort of festive lights or bright lights to sort of give me a lift, but after dark it can be a bit grim sometimes. And some of the youth hostels are quite remote actually. I went to a bunkhouse in Shropshire, and I went to a bunkhouse in the Brecon Beacons a couple of weeks ago, and they really are in the middle of nowhere, and just arriving there, it's like an oasis of light and warmth. They're spectacular places to arrive at. Tonight is Cholderton. So I've about 30 miles to go. I'm estimating I'll get there about 7:30, 8:15. That's about the time I've been averaging over the winter. Well, it's 6 p.m. now, and I'm on a nice quiet road heading through the Test Valley down towards Stockbridge. I just suddenly remembered this really nice village store that I quite often use. They're still open. She even had an odd can of Carlsberg for me, so I've picked that up for my tea. Some bread there. Normally pick that up later in the day just to stop it getting squashed too much. And I've got some chocolate and just got the munchies. It's about 22 miles to go, had a battery alarm about an hour ago, so I'm just giving that a few minutes charge as well. So it's just coming up to 7 PM now, and I'm in the Test Valley. I'm in this really nice village of Stockbridge. Been here so many times over the years. 12 miles to go, and my Garmin's now estimating 57 minutes. So that's going to be fairly accurate. I should get to the hostel, bearing any little hitches, glitches, about 8 o'clock. So that's going to give me an hour in hand, so that's fantastic. So press on. There's a bit of a climb out of here, and then it's mostly on an escarpment, and then the final drop down to the hostel. Final leg to Cholderton, 4.5 miles to go. Really looking forward to getting there now. Quite warm actually. I've got 2 hats on and 2 pairs of gloves, so I'm quite toasty warm, and the roads don't seem to be freezing that quickly, although the temperature's forecast to drop to -1 tonight, so it's going to be really nice to get in to a warm, cosy hostel. Nice quiet road the last few miles. Well, it's just gone 8 o'clock and here we are at the hostel. Very welcome sight. It's quite an isolated group of buildings right attached to this rare breeds farm, so I'm just going to go and check in now, get my bike put away, then have a shower. It's now about 20 to 9 on Wednesday morning. I've just had some breakfast in the hostel. There's a conservatory there, but it's quite cold out there. Nice and cosy in this common room. So since the end of October, I started off visiting Cheddar. Again, like today, although it's quite close, I eked it out into a 200-kilometre DIY. Then after that I went to the Wye Valley Hostel at Welsh Bickmore. Then after that, Talibont in the Brecon Beacons. And then I did back-to-back DIYs. I rode down to Littlehampton in West Sussex, 200 there and a 200 back. And then I rode up to Allstretton Bunkhouse in the Shropshire area of outstanding natural beauty. Although the ride back on the second day wasn't a 200, it wasn't far off, and it rained really heavy. I got really cold and wet. I was amazed I didn't get a cold after that. Then after that I went to Gattock Bunkhouse in the Brecon Beacons. That's a really nice remote one. Then last week, Bourne in the New Forest. So it's 9:45, I'm all packed up, I'm just about to leave the hostel. You can see this is the road I came up last night. There's nothing up here. The last few miles were actually really dark. When you saw the lights of this hostel, it was really welcoming. In fact, this road doesn't really lead anywhere. It leads straight onto the A303. You may hear the roar of it in the distance. When I left Stockbridge last night, at 6 PM I think it was, I climbed up onto an escarpment, and you stay up there quite a long time, and you ride up past Danebury Hill Fort, then you go alongside an Army Air Force base, and there were low flying helicopters. That's quite impressive. All the lights really going over, passing me quite often, and the thud of the helicopters. In fact, at dusk a Chinook went over, really banked quite low just above me. That was quite impressive. So it's very atmospheric coming up here. Then as you come up this road, it's pitch black and you just suddenly see the lights of the hostel, and that's what I really love. That's the buzz I was trying to explain yesterday. There's something really nice about arriving at your destination in the dark and just knowing there's a shower, a bed, a meal, some drink. I bought myself a beer, so yeah, that was it. It was a good night hosteling. So I'm going to be setting off now, home before it gets dark probably.